What up, film fans? It has been a minute. Actually, it has been almost 2 years and 2 months to the day since I last put out any content or any episodes or anything for you. I won't go into why. Life happens. Anyway, chatting script is back. That's the important thing. Me rambling to myself like a lunatic, talking about movies, talking about TV shows, and everything that goes into that is back. Chatting script. I'm so sure that you're glad I'm back. Anyway, that's enough of that shit. Um, I am here to talk about bits and bobs. No. I thought start this episode off. I didn't want to do I'm easing myself back into the game because believe it or not, quite a lot of effort goes into all of this malarkey, and I didn't want to do an, an analysis on like just one film like I have done in the past. You don't really need to know why, but it's quite a lot that goes into one of those more so than just one of these where it's me talking. So I'm easing myself back in. So I'm just going to talk about some of the stuff I've been watching recently. Most relevant is Sinners. If anyone's been to see that in the cinema at the moment, what a film! Tell you what, Ryan Coogler is really bringing his A game lately. I didn't realize as well until I double checked it a minute ago on IMDb that I have accidentally, like as in without intention, not that I was avoiding his films or anything, but I have without intention seen every single one of his feature films. Saw Fruitvale Station years ago, Creed, um, Black Panther 1 and 2. I've actually covered Black Panther 2 on this channel. And one of my biggest criticisms actually about that film was that the maybe it was just that someone I spoke to someone else about this actually, and they didn't seem to have this problem. So I think it is the issue with streaming because I streamed it on Disney Plus when it came out on there. I didn't see it in the cinema. Was my criticism was that I couldn't see it. The film was dark, like you couldn't see the characters in the nighttime scenes. You couldn't see. I remember there was a scene specifically where the main villain, the fish guy, comes out of the water. And one of the characters comments on like, "Oh, did you see the wings on his feet?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't. Couldn't see the guy at all." So I say all of that to say, Simmons doesn't have this problem. Loads of it takes place at night time, and you can see everything. So he's learned his lesson there. Um, but what a film! Do you know what it felt like? Because I was looking up the IMDb cast and crew of it as well, and it's Ryan Coogler is one of those directors that seems to like the people that he works with. Keep working with the people that he knows. Um, so I think it's the same. What was it? Let me double check it. Let me double check it instead of rattling off the top of my head. Oh, actually, before I carry on with that, what the composer, Ludwig Göransson, who sprung to my attention through Mandalorian, and has since done some wonderful compositions for many other things. I think he did Tenant, um, the somewhat divisive Chris Nolan movie, but I quite liked it. Um, Creed, Venom. Oh, he did Black Panther as well. Oh, so he's actually worked with Ryan Coogler. There you go. The more you know. He's worked with him. So that feeds into the point I was making that Ryan Coogler seems to use a lot of the same cast and crew again and again in his films, which is great. Michael P. Shorver, is it Shorver? Yeah, the editor. Or The Quiet Place 2 fame, probably most prominently, other than Black Panther 1 and 2, he's done with him. The cinematographer, who I wasn't familiar with, Autumn Gerald Akapour. Hopefully, I'm saying your name right. Big respect to you because the cinematography in Sinners is outstanding. I was watching an interview with Ryan Coogler where he was explaining the different types of the aspect ratios that they were using for IMAX. Um, I'm not too technically inept in those things, so I'll try and sum it up for you really quickly. Basically, there's three releases of Sinners. depending on what cinema is available to you as, the ticket paying audience member. Not all cinemas are equipped to deal with like massive IMAX sort of, to the full extent of it. So they have to chop down the aspect ratio. Um, so, if you're going to maybe like a smaller screening of it, it's probably going to be the more condensed aspect ratio of it. I think I went to cinema with a maximum aspect of it, but a safe bet for somewhere like you're definitely going to get your biggest ratio would be like London, Odeon, Leicester Square. That was one of the few cinemas that actually did a 70 millimeter version of Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, and there is my first Quentin Tarantino reference of this episode. And if I've got any listeners back from previous times, you will know that I can't not reference the guy because he's the GOAT. And if you don't agree with that, that's your opinion and that's mine. Um, anyway, where was I? Yeah, the Odeon Leicester Square is actually one of the few cinemas that has the ability to do a film projected 70 millimeter like screening. So that's why I went to see that one there. I believe the Odeon in Waterloo, the one that's on the roundabout, I believe that would be able to support the max um, ratio aspect thing for this Sinners because it's literally well, it's not literally two tennis courts, it's the width of two tennis courts on the screen. It's mental if you haven't been. It curves. It's that big, it curves. I saw Interstellar there and I saw The Force Awakens there. And yeah, it's a hell of a cinema experience. If you like going to cinema, that's a really good one. Excuse me while I take a sip of my coffee. Yeah, so cinematography in Sinners, wild. There's some even the shots where it's just like people stood in a room and they've got, really nice what would you call it? Like framing of the shot, and then the spacing of the characters, how they're laying them out. Because it seems when you're on set, it does seem really weird when you're just sort of stood in these really unnatural positions. Whereas if you were having a conversation with a group of people, you wouldn't really stand how they get people to stand on shots. If double check the next thing, and everyone will always be stood in a position where they can all see the camera, kind of thing. And on screen it looks amazing, but then when you're actually in the moment, it's weird. It's another one of those things, like as an actor, where you sort of have to like forget that it's there. Like you got to forget that there's a boom mic above your head. You got to forget that there's a camera right in your face while you're trying to like have an emotional moment with someone. It's all good fun. So like the setup of all of that, even when it's even when it's just people in a room, but the pure like encompassing nature of the IMAX camera and everything, how beautifully wide and sort of involved the shots are. It's outstanding. And then you've got these great symmetrical shots, like when they're driving past all the cotton plantations in their car. So you got like the dirt road with the car in the middle, and then you got on one side, on the right side and the left side, the like cotton plantations. And then they were doing what quite a lot of films will do, is like split the screen into um like segments, right? So you've got the most common one, and I believe it's what they did in that shot I'm talking about the plantations with the car, is the horizon. Where sky meets the earth, the horizon will be like straight down the middle of frame, horizontally, obviously, and then you've got the sky taking up the top half of the frame, and then the plantations and the car and the road and everything on the bottom half of the frame, and in that glorious wide IMAX frame, it's just, oh, you feel like you're there. You feel like you're just in these fields of, where was this based? Like Louisiana or Mississippi or something. Just exceptional. Like just what it felt like. Because okay, so this is sort of back to the point I was originally making of Ryan Coogler liking to use a lot of the same cast and crew and everything. It felt like it was a group of people, a group of filmmakers who knew each other really well, knew how each other worked, and were just having fun and flexing their creative muscles and just sort of being like, oh, do you know what would look cool? This would look cool, and we'll frame it like that. And then Ludwig and all the like sound department would just going ham. Like there's that sequence in it, where okay, so I'm gonna talk with spoilers to Sinners. Okay, so if you haven't seen it yet, now's probably a good time to stop listening. Go see it. It's very good. Try and find the biggest aspect ratio available, IMAX, all singing, all dancing, all the bells and whistles viewing of it you can find. If not, just see it because it's banging. Um, but like the sequence. So already when I was watching the film, I was thinking cinematography is great, and I was thinking the sound is really great. The soundtrack, the sound mixing, all of it was really great because it's narrative driver of the whole film is about musicians and creating like rich, soulful, not soulful in the genre soul, but like putting their heart and soul into the music. So that's a big driving factor of the narrative. So and more on that later. So already I was like, oh yeah, the soundscape on this film is very, very good. But then there's that one sequence when they start getting the club up and running. Because if you again, if you don't know or you need reminding, the one of the other driving factors of the film is that they're trying to open a not a speakeasy because I don't think it's prohibition times in the area that this is set, but they're opening the club basically. They're opening the club for people to go and listen to music and dance and all that. And there's a scene where is it his cousin or his nephew? Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan playing two of the Smokestack twins in this. Did it very well. I will quickly say that I imagine it's very hard. Like the only other performance that springs to mind at the moment is Tom Hardy in Legend, where he played the Cray twins or the Cray brother Quays, the Cray brothers. Not actually twins apparently. Where you got you literally got to play two characters, and there's scenes where you're probably spending a day or two because usually right most scenes are given 2 to 3 days to complete depending on how expansive the scene is. Obviously there's exceptions to that rule. There's some that go much quicker, there's some that take much longer, but generally you get about 2 or 3 days to do it. So there would have been days where Tom Hardy and Michael B. Jordan in this film Sinners um, would have been in character and in costume as one of these brothers, do the whole scene, and then maybe the next day do the same thing, and then on day three or whatever, come back in as a completely different character in a different costume and redo the same scene, but from the other angle. And like, what a workup! But here's some people think acting's easy, right? And I'm not here to say that it's the hardest job in the world. I've done some manual labor jobs throughout my life, and it's not acting is not the hardest job in the world, but it is difficult. And there are people that are great at it for different reasons, and there are people that are more mediocre for different reasons. Many, many reasons. One of the reasons could be something like when you're when you're stretching one scene that might only end up being like 2 minutes of footage on the actual final cut of the film. You're spending 2 to 3 days, sometimes 4 days, making that scene, right? And you've got to do that scene again and again and again. So, say if that's a scene where, just as a really dramatic example, someone you love is dying in your arms, you've got to bring that loss and that emotion and that fear of not having this person in your life anymore. You've got to bring that for all the different setups during that day. And by setups, I mean one setup will be a close up of your face doing it. One setup might be the wide of the whole scene. One setup might be over the top. One set might be the other person in the scene and their close up and their medium and their wide. So you could have like 5 to unlimited setups for each scene, really, realistically. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you take my point, I think. And you got to bring that emotional charge to it every single time for every single one of those takes. And you're probably doing multiple takes, unless you're Clint Eastwood, who famously only does 1 or 2 takes of each setup. You're doing multiple ones, and you got to bring that every time. So I say all of this to say that then you got Michael B. Jordan doing a scene where it's just him talking to himself, who's playing his brother, and he's got to do that again and again and again and again. And I mention all of that because not only is he continuing the or sustaining, sorry, the emotional investment of one character in that scene, he's then sustaining the emotional investment of the other character in the same scene over the course of like a week, filming that same scene. And that is a feat unto itself. So, a really long winded way of saying Michael B. Jordan's very good in this film. um, what else was I going to talk about with this bloody film? Sorry, I've like completely gone off on one and taken me out of it a little bit. Yeah. Uh, oh, yeah, I was talking about the music and everything. Okay. I don't know how I got onto characters and stuff there, but there we go. It's an ADD brain. What are you going to do? So the soundscape and the cinematography was working so well in tandem. And so there's that scene where they've set up the club, and Michael B. Jordan's little cousin, I think it's his little cousin in the film. Yeah, yeah, or it might be his nephew. Nephew, cousin, doesn't matter. The little lad in the film that plays the guitar and sings the blues and is quality. His first acting role, by the way. I think I looked it up. What's his name? Um, bear with. Miles Caton. I think it's how you say his last name, Caton. Might be Caton. Yeah, I think that's his first performance. If I've got the actor right, pretty sure that's the little geezer, isn't it? Yeah. It's quality. I don't know if he was cast purely based on how well he can play guitar and sing. That's something as well, actually. I will get back onto that scene where I'm trying to talk about the soundscape and everything. I will get back onto it. But I play guitar myself, right? And a, a, a gripe of mine in media is when you see it probably happens to most people that can play an instrument, but when you see someone trying to play an instrument that you know how to play, you can tell straight away that they're not playing it if they don't know how to play it and they're not playing it correctly. And it, for me anyway, it takes me out of it straight away. Um, and it looked, for the most part at least, like he knew what he was doing and he knew how to play. And I'm always like, in those situations, why don't you just get a stunt person in? Not like a stunt person like they're going to fall down the stairs with the guitar, but like why would you not just get a body double in who knows how to play the instrument, the song or whatever? Or if you've got time, learn the what would Christian Bale do? Christian Bale would learn the bloody instrument, you know? I get that that's not always doable, not always feasible. Um but you should probably get as close as you can. Yeah. And then the production should especially a big one, you know, like a big Hollywood production should get then like a body double in to do the bits that maybe you can't do. It's why I respect the hell out of what's his name? He played Eddie Munson on the latest season of Stranger Things when he had to play Metallica. Bits that he couldn't play, like the solo in what's that Metallica song? I love it so much. Master of Puppets. There we go. Okay, thank you. Uh, the bits that he couldn't play because that solo is mental, they just cut away, which is fair enough. Don't put it on screen. But a lot of it he could play, and there's footage of him jamming it with Metallica. And I don't know if he played guitar before that. The fact that he like stepped up to the batting cage and gave it a proper hail mary, fair play to him. Anyway, so my point with this one with Miles Caton is he was quality. He knew what he was doing. It looked like he knew what he was doing for the most part. Anyway. Yeah. So this is what I've been trying to talk about. The scene with all the music. So it's where Miles Caton is given his chance to shine in front of this crowd who are expecting some real nice blues music. He's given his chance to shine, and the um the narrative driver of the film is that there are certain musicians on the planet who are so soulful with what they do when they make music that it creates a like almost like a tear in the fabric of time, meaning that the music transcends all time. And they visually represent that and audibly represent that by, as he's playing in this amazing one-up, and again, for those who are rejoining me or those who are here for the first time or those who just don't know, maybe you need a reminder. A one in filming terms is where the shot is designed to look like it's one continuous take. Quite often you will have continuous takes Usually they'll slip in cuts, hidden cuts here and there. Um, Revenant, Birdman, Children of Men. Well, Children of Men isn't a one I threw out, but there's a lot of oneers in that, and it's the same crew that did Birdman and Birdman and the Revenant. Sorry, it's Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu and his team. They So that there's so that there's a oneer of this shot where Miles is doing his thing, and I'm confident there's some hidden cuts in there. Like it will go behind a pillar of the building, and it for a split second, the only thing on screen is the pillar. So that will be a cut because they'll finish one take by going to the pillar, and then the next take will start by starting on the pillar and moving on. I'm pretty sure that's how they would have done it. But there was quite a few in there. Anyway, so the camera's moving around, and you're seeing Miles do his thing, and there's a narrative. There's a narrator over the top that's talking about how it's transcending time and everything. Talking about how it's transcending time. So you then, like, out of nowhere, a geezer appears playing an electric guitar, and then on the soundtrack, it starts with like just Miles's kind of bluesy acoustic thing. Excuse me. The burps are back, ladies and gentlemen, in full force. And well, not full force. That was a little one. So Miles is doing his thing, playing this guitar, and the music's all bluesy, and it sounds like it's of that time period. And then all of a sudden, you've got that guy coming up playing the electric guitar, and it's not jarring. It just slips in. I know that rock and blues and electric guitars and everything are sort of like there's a direct evolution, a correlation for that. So that one's maybe a little bit easier to slip in, but it slips in layers on top really, really nicely. And then you get like there's like but this I don't want to sound like generic or unspecific, but I don't know, so I can't say with anything. But like it seemed to me like an African tribes dance person just appears within that scene as well, and then music to accompany that happens, and then you get like some really modern, like electro kind of synthy almost, like that kind of stuff blends into it as well, and then people that are visual representations of that appear. What a scene! Like I was already. This is what started to try to say about 15 minutes ago. I was already very impressed with the sound and the sound mixing and the sound blending and all of that kind of thing. That by the time that scene started unfolding, I was just like, bravo, bravo. This is, you know, director, a cinematographer, an editor, a sound mixer, a sound editor, composer, whatever, like all these different crew members just having a whale of a time, flexing their muscles. Like when they watch this film back, they must just think like, holy shit, man, we did that. We did that. Whether or not you like the film or not, like from a technical aspect, it's absolutely outstanding. Um, yeah, just I can't say enough good things about it, but I've already rambled on for a while. So, yeah, I've spoken about his performance. Oh, Jack O'Connell, my boy. First thing I noticed that geezer in was season 3 of Skins. Which, if you're British and were born, probably want to say before like 2005, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I say the TV show Skins. And if you don't know, you missed out. What a show! He was in that as Cook, and as soon as I saw him performing in that, I was like, "This lad's good. This guy knows his onions." And since then, he's just been fantastic. He was 71, which, if you haven't seen, is a film about the Troubles in Ireland in, you guessed it, 1971. Well, it's not when the Troubles were, but that's only when the Troubles were, sorry, but that's when the film was based. Where he plays a British Marine who gets split up from his troop in Northern Ireland. And the whole film is a cat and mouse chase thriller type thing where he's getting hunted down by like IRA members. What a film! Like I understand entirely it's a very sensitive subject. British Empire has a lot to answer for. So I don't want to just skirt over such a heavy subject, but I'm going to because this is about something else. As in this podcast episode is about someone else. But 71's banging. What else has Jack O'Connell done? I just like that he's getting a lot of respect in Hollywood. He has been for a while. Like he was in that Angelina Jolie directed movie. I believe it's called Untouchable. No, something like that. Where he was in a POW camp. But seeing him pop up I didn't recognize it was him on the trailer. I only saw one trailer for this, and I was like, cool, that's it. I'll go see it. I'm like that with trailers. I don't need to watch the whole trailer. To be honest, I don't even watch the trailer half the time. If I know that the director and the cast are good, I'm there. Like if next Chris Nolan movie that's coming out, don't need to watch the trailer for. I'm already going to see it because it's a Chris Nolan movie, you know. And what is the next one he's got coming out? I saw the cast list the other day. It's absolutely stacked. It's mental. So I'm going to see it. I don't care about watching the trailer for it. Anyway, so I didn't recognize it was Jack O'Connell from the trailer. And then, so then when I started watching it in the cinema, I was just like, "This is my boy." I say my boy like I know him. I don't know him, but um, yeah, he was cool. And it was an interesting take on vampire mythology. Like in a world of, or in a time even of like sequels and remake. Sometimes sequels and remakes are perfectly valid. Godfather Part Two, Empire Strikes Back, perfectly valid. Aliens, even though Alien One is better than Aliens, and most people seem to say Aliens is better, but it's not. It's good, but it's not better. Sorry, Jim Cameron. And where was it going? In a world of sequels and remakes and all that stuff, there's also an argument that um, the same topics or the same genres have been done to death. Like I think people are bored stiff of like zombies, for example. I'm personally not. It's my favorite subgenre of horror movies. I love zombies. Walking Dead is the best TV show probably of all time. I love that show. Um, if that makes you not trust my opinion on things, I don't. Yeah. So in a world of all that, it was interesting to see vampires done in, to my knowledge, a unique way. I can't think of anything done like that before. So this is bringing me back to the narrative point of the music transcending time and you know all that kind of thing. Is what the narrative feeds into that is that when that happens, when the fabric of time is split and everything, it attracts a darkness as well, and it attracts Jack O'Connell, a vampire in this film, and he just want, but they have to be invited in, so they can't get into the. I want to call it a hootenanny, but that doesn't feel like the right word. There's a bar called the Hootenanny in Brixton, which is probably why it's popping into my head because that's a music bar. That's a lot of fun. If it's still open, I've been there for a while. Water. Um, yeah, but no, so that's why the vampires are there because they're attracted to the music and everything. And I hadn't seen something like that before. Um, and there's also an undercurrent. This is again, I know I've said this before. Sorry for that pop. I was like, it's disgusting. I know I've said this before in previous episodes, but it's worth repeating because it's been a couple of years. Is most of the best horror films, not always true. There are exceptions to this rule, but most of the best horror films will also have undercurrent of a social commentary. So, two amazing examples, both George A. Romero movies, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Night of the Living Dead has a social commentary on racism, and Dawn of the Dead has a social commentary on consumerism, just to sort of get through those quickly. You know, like the whole of the Dawn of the Dead is taking place in a shopping mall in America where you've got zombies aimlessly wandering around. Like it's a commentary on like consumerism. Um, so there's a lot of undertones of racism in this film, partly because of the time period that it's set in. Um, with like segregation and things like that, and the Jordan brothers. I call them Jordan brothers. The Michael B. Jordan played twins, which are called the Smokestack twins in this film. One goes by Smoke, one goes by Stack. Um, they open this bar for black people to have a place to go, where it's safe for them and, they won't get bullshit from, racists at the time, basically. To put it bluntly and put it shortly, right? So they have this kind of safe haven. And then Jack O'Connell, being a white guy himself, not able to come into the place without being invited in, is at the door, like trying to convince Bouncer and the Smokestack twins and everybody to let them in. And they're sort of like, well, why do you want to come in here? It's quite obviously a black environment, black club sort of thing. And he's trying to sweet talk him and charm him and get him in, but he can't just walk in because he's a vampire. So then, because he's not just like overtly trying to come in as well, that can also make the characters inside the bar like a bit suspicious. And then it comes out in the conversation uh, where they are like, "Well, this is a black joint. Like, what you doing?" And he's like, I can't remember what he says, but like word for word. But it's he's basically just um, that they don't hate. Oh no, actually, sorry, I've confused myself a little bit. I think it might even be later on in the film when it's very apparent that he's a vampire and he's already like bitten and turned a lot of their friends and stuff that had like left the bar or whatever. And they've like come back as vampires as well. And basically, the undercurrent of like the racist commentary and everything is uh, the land would have been previously or was previously owned by like a suspected KKK geezer. And Jack O'Connell, the vampire, figures this out because also as well they do this is a common thread in vampire things that when you bite someone, you get all of their memories and experiences and everything. Like you're able to absorb those as well. And he's absorbed the other KKK guy who ends up being related to the guy that sold the bar to that Michael B. Jordan's bought. I hope you're staying with me. Um, so he knows that, but he basically says when they sort of confront him about like, oh, you here on behalf of the KKK or whatever. I can't remember how they confront him about it, but he's like, no, I don't care about that. What he wants as his sort of like vampire goal is communion, regardless of race, gender, whatever, but just communion as one. All being vampires and all like sort of living harmoniously together and like for the benefit of each other, which is like really interesting. He's not coming from like a world domination point of view or like a I hate humans point of view or like that kind of division. The commentary is sort of like you guys want to be safe and a community, as in like a black community and a safe haven for black people to like go and enjoy blues music and stuff in the age of explicit racism, probably hot on the heels of slavery being abolished and it's in the heart of segregation, that kind of thing. I think I've got my time periods right in my head. So they want that sort of safety. He also wants the safety of his kind, vampire kind, and to like live harmoniously and stuff. And then in his view, the KKK and all that kind of racism stuff is just nonsense anyway, and he doesn't have the time for it. So it's like quite a nice way, weirdly, of like flipping the bird to racism, which was quite cool. I hope I've explained my understanding of this dynamic well enough. I might not have, but I have a tendency to ramble and get sidetracked. So there we are. Um, yeah. In short, I liked it. You got some great performances in the film. Haley Steinfeld, very good. You might know her from what's she been in? Oh, Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye show, um, and I believe the Marvels as well. That's the main thing I knew her from. Um, oh yeah, Jamie Lawson, who I knew from the Batman latest one with Robert Pattinson. She was the Bella Royale um, politician of sorts. Basically, she's trying to like clean up Gotham. Um, she's good in it. One of the best performers was I hope I'm saying your name right. Wunmi Masaku um, played one of either Smoke or Stack's like partners in the film, Michael B. Jordan's partners. I only knew her from Deadpool and Wolverine, where she plays the TSA agent. Um, she's wicked in this film. She plays a kind of like I want to say witch doctor. but that might not be accurate and hopefully isn't offensive. But she's very much like a herbal remedy, spiritual guide type, almost a bit paganistic. And I say that with love and respect. Um, yeah, her character's great in that film. She's probably the smartest person in the room at all times. Um, the first person to figure out that there were like some sort of supernatural threat, like vampires. The only one that knows anything about how to deal with them. Great character, great performance. Um, what else we got? Pardon me. Talked about Miles. Oh, dude, Delroy Lindo. I don't want this to sound disrespectful. I totally forgot about this geezer. I just hadn't seen him in anything, and I loved this guy growing up. He was in So what used to be my favorite film until I saw Pulp Fiction when I was like 13 or 14, which yeah, probably too young to see Pulp Fiction, but Pulp Fiction became my favorite film from that age and has remained my favorite film ever since. I love a lot of movies. I don't love any as much as I love Pulp Fiction. Um, but Delroy Lindo was in my favorite film up until I saw Pulp Fiction, which is a great film. You might judge me for this because no, it's not Shawshank Redemption and no, it's not any of the other like massively respected films. Um, My favorite film used to be a Jet Li movie called Romeo Must Die. Because at the time I was also obsessed with films like The Matrix and a lot of other martial art films. I was a, borderline teenager child boy, who was doing karate at the time. Most things with martial arts and action movies, I was there. But Romeo Must Die did some really cool things where when it happens three times in the movie, when Jet Li's fighting someone and like messing them up, there's a bit where a security guard in prison at the start goes to like, if I'm remembering this rightly, I haven't seen this film for years, but a security guard goes to punch him, and Jet Li like catches his arm or like grapples his arm, sort of like it restrains it basically, restrains his arm as it's stretched out, and then with his other arm, um, snaps his bone, like sort of, pulls his arm in a weird way and like snaps his forearm or something. And then as he does it, the shot goes X-ray mode, so you see the bone break. And later on in the film, he's fighting someone else, and they get kicked onto like a pile of rubble, and there's a metal bar sticking out of the pile of rubble. And then as it penetrates the person who gets kicked, it goes X-ray, and you see it like puncture her heart or something. And I can't remember what the third one is in the film. It might be when he fights the like last person at the end, because there's always a climactic fight in action movies. That's that uh, tool I can't remember seeing in any other film before or since, and I really, really liked it as a kid. It wasn't the reason it was my favorite film. And also it's a kind of modern take on Romeo and Juliet, hence Romeo Must Die, where you've got Jet Li playing. I think he's an associate of the gang in that film. Don't know if it's like the triads or something. But Delroy Lindo and I think even DMX is in that movie. Um, Romeo Must Die, I mean. They're part of and Anthony Anderson's in that movie as well. And if you don't know who Anthony Anderson is, I guarantee you, if you search him up or see him in something, you'll go, "Oh, it's this guy. He's hilarious and he's in everything." Um, yeah, they're like an organized crime unit who's warring for turf or whatever it is. I can't really remember. Jet Li is from one side, and then is it Aaliyah, the singer who passed way too young? Um, she's the like daughter or whatever of I think it might even be Delroy himself, but she's the daughter of like that sort of crime syndicate family, and so then there's a sort of forbidden love between Jet Li and her. And that's the premise of the movie, and it slaps. It's so good. I love that movie. Yeah, it is Aaliyah. R.I.P. Um, defy anyone to not at least enjoy that movie. It's class. But that was the main thing I knew Delroy Lindo from. And he's awesome in it. And then suddenly seeing him again as this sort of like slightly cynical, um, a bit like brash and alcoholic kind of character in Sinners was pretty cool. Oh, right. For those on the audio, sorry, for those on the video, not on the audio, I should have put this up on screen a minute ago. This is what I was talking about of the staging and the framing. Like you see how everybody stood in in this shot. A really unnatural way to stand if you're just talking to people in a room or whatever. The way they've got them all set out, where everybody can be seen by the camera. Um, what's the? It's not framing. It's not staging. It's not geography. Whatever it is. Yeah, that's an example of it. Um, yeah, Delroy, what a boy, what a boy. I think that's 40 minutes of rambling about Sinners. So, what I am going to quickly do, say quickly, it's me. It's going to take bloody ages, but talk about The Last of Us season two again with many spoilers, both the game. So that will be the entire story of season two and potentially season three as well. So if you haven't played the game and you don't want to know how season two is going to progress and potentially see, because I think they're splitting the second game into season two and season three of the TV show. Don't want any spoilers for how the story's going to go. Stop listening now because I'm going to talk freely about it. Um, a lot of people on the internet. Let me just no. Oh, I haven't got any Last of Us pictures up, so I'll keep that on there for now. Um, a lot of people on the internet been kicking off about Bella Ramsey being cast as Ellie in the show. Um, Largely for the wrong reasons. And I don't agree with a lot of like what's being said about her not being good enough for it. The main reason that people seem to say is because she doesn't look like the character, and then you get some people online saying like, "Oh, you're only saying that because you're not attracted to her or whatever," and like it's all just nonsense. Both sides of that squabbling back and forth is just nonsense. Yeah, she doesn't look like Ellie, but let's be perfectly honest, no one in this show looks like their game counterparts. Really, there's a couple of people that do. Um, bloke's name is playing Isaac. Jeffrey Rush? No, it's the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean. Jeffrey something. Sorry, mate, can't remember. Um, he he looks like him, but Pedro Pascal. As much as I love the guy and he's phenomenal, doesn't really look like Joel. They made him look a bit like Joel. But he doesn't really look like Joel. His brother, can't remember the actor's name, but his brother in the show is Tommy. He doesn't look like Tommy. He's great, so we forgive him. Um, no one does. So kicking up a stink about Bella Ramsey not looking like Ellie is get over yourself. The only thing that does have a little bit of credit to it on that front is like just to be perfectly honest, is Bella does look a little bit young. So when you see her with people that are meant to be like the same age as her or near about the same age as her, like Jesse or Dina, she does look a little bit young. So that's probably the only thing I would give any credit towards, you know, even getting close to the idea that she's miscast. But Bella Ramsey is a fantastic actor. So we forgive it, or at least I forgive it. People should forgive it. Pedro doesn't look like Joel. He's fantastic, so we forgive it, right? You see the point. Um, however, however, one of my biggest issues with the show is about how an actor acts, and it is the character of Abby. So if you played the game, or you're looking at this now on the video, if you're on the audio and you haven't played the game, just Google how Abby in the game is meant to look, right? And this isn't. Look at her. She's absolutely jacked. Look at those biceps and those shoulders and those forearms. She's jacked. And this isn't me saying, "Oh, I wanted to see like live action muscle mummy." It's got nothing to do with that. Okay, and just to sort of further feed the point, that's Caitlin Denver. Caitlin Dever? Yeah, Dever. um, good actor, good actor. Look at again, not being weird, not saying like, oh, look at the body or whatever, but like, look at her arms. She's very slender. See there? Very slender, very slight. And the reason that I hit my microphone, the reason I have an issue with that portraying Abby isn't anything to do with like wanting to see a muscle mummy or my level of attractiveness to that person or whatever people on the internet might try and tell you is um nothing to do with that. It's would you cast a skinny He-Man? Would you cast a skinny Thor? You wouldn't, would you? Right? Anyone who knows anything about weightlifting or exercise or anything like that knows that you have to be incredibly dialed in to make those kind of physical changes to yourself, right? It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger quite famously said that people used to come up to him when he was Mr. Universe and absolutely, enormous. Oh, I'd hate to look like you. I wouldn't want to look like you. And Arnold said, don't worry, you never will. Sorry for my poor Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation there. Normally I can do quite a good one. Or I can just go, um, CIA got you pushing too many pencils. That was awful. Oh, I need to work on it. He said, when people say, I wouldn't want to look like you, he said, don't worry, you never will. Meaning, if you don't have the diligence, the commitment, the passion, and the drive, and any other verbs, are they verbs? Adjectives? Whatever, to achieve it, right? It takes a lot of effort for a guy to look like that, right? So, how much more effort will it take for a woman to look like that? And I'm not trying to be sexist, but it's scientifically, proven due to testosterone and things like that, that guys can build muscle easier than women, right? So, if it's going to take like, I know blokes that will be in the gym 3 to 5 days a week, every week for a year and not look like that, right? And I'm not saying that that's unrealistic for a woman to look like that. There are women that look like that. All you need to do is open up Instagram and search, like, I don't know, bodybuilding women or whatever, and you'll find bloody loads of them. That's where the term muscle mummy comes from. The fact that you do get like hench women, at least these days, anyway. Well, you always have. There's always been women bodybuilders, right? Um, being It's integral to the character of Abby to spend this much time and discipline and commitment to turning herself into this absolutely jacked killing machine. Because that's why she's doing it. She's doing it so that she can be a killing machine. It's like Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Terminator 1, Sarah Connor is your average woman. Like, she's in shape as much as that she's just like, average build kind of thing. Terminator 2, she's been locked in a cell in an insane asylum. Excuse me if an insane asylum is an insensitive term these days, but she's been locked in a cell doing nothing but press ups and pull ups and all that kind of shit, turning herself into a killing machine, or at least someone capable of defending themselves against a threat like a Terminator, because that's her drive, that's her focus, right? So again, spoiler alert, but if you've played the game or even now seen the TV show, which I'll get onto in a minute, you know Abby's motives. It's revenge. It's to track down the person that killed her dad and get revenge. She's a killer. She's a stone cold machine. And if you've played the game as well, you'll know that like when you play as Ellie, Ellie being a teenager, I think she's what, like 18 or 19 maybe in the second game, but she's like 15 or whatever in the first game. She's a slight, slender woman, and that lends itself to a particular play style where you kind of have to favor stealth and keeping your distance from threats. Whereas when you play as Joel and when you play as Abby, you're like a wrecking ball of a human, and you can just get down and dirty and like physical hand to hand combat and get in it that way. So it's integral to who she is as a person. You don't get like that by accident. You don't. That's years of dedication and commitment. So, studio, I'm not saying it's Caitlin Dever's fault. could be the studio's fault. It could even be Neil Druckmann's fault, who is the am I saying his last name right? He's the Naughty Dog head like creator guy, driving force behind the Last of Us game and TV show. Could even be his fault. Um, someone someone decided that Abby in the TV show doesn't need to physically match up to the game, and it's stupid, put it bluntly. I mean, like they so they changed a couple of things in season one and fleshed a few things out, like the relationship between Bill and his partner was fleshed out beautifully, and it was one of the best episodes of TV you'll ever see. They fleshed out a lot of the stuff at the start about where the excuse me about where the fungal infection thing that creates the infected zombie things in the show and all that come from. They fleshed all these things out, and they changed a few bits, and like for the largely it worked. But one of the most appealing things about playing the second game is so in episode 2 of the show, Abby kills Joel. Spoiler alert. But if you don't know by now, um, and that happens really early on in the game. But what doesn't happen early on in the game is you finding out why she's killed Joel. You don't know why. You just assume, and then like halfway through the game, you switch from playing as Ellie seeking revenge, and you start playing as Abby, and then it all slowly becomes clear to you that her dad was the main doctor in the end of the first game and the end of the first TV show, who was going to essentially sacrifice Ellie to get a like a cure, because Ellie's immune, a cure for all of this stuff from Ellie. But as a result of getting the cure from Ellie, Ellie would die. Hence Joel killing him, and then yeah. So if it yeah, but what the show does is tells you that straight away. Like Abby has a monologue telling Joel why she's about to kill Joel, and in the game it's almost more barbaric, because you don't know why it's happening, and Joel doesn't know why it's happening. And it's so much more shocking and alarming and like emotionally provoking. And to be honest, in this show, I loved season one, loved it. I had my problems with it. Things like there's not a lot of zombies in that show, or infected, whatever you want to call them. But it was otherwise largely a pretty good show. Things like Joel's original daughter Sarah being shot at the beginning, heartbreaking both in the game and on the show. Handled very well. Joel's death is way more heartbreaking in the game. I don't know why. Maybe I just wasn't in a good enough mood when I watched it, but it didn't grab me the same way that it did in the show. And maybe partly of that is because of how they just went, here's all the information you needed. There's no intrigue or mystery gone anymore. And bearing in mind, I know all the mystery and intrigue anyway because I've played the game a couple of times. And then likewise, when they introduced the Seraphites or the Scars, as they call them, which you would have seen a couple of times if you're up to date in the show, it's the people with the scars on their faces and all that who are at war with the WLF, the Wolves. Um, when they get introduced in the game, you hear bits and bobs about them, and then suddenly you come up against them, and they do the whistle communication. So you have all this whistling going on around you, and then there's all these creepy guys with like scars all on their faces and stuff, like roaming around using bow and arrows and like hatchets and machetes and quite savage, brutal weapons. Savage in the sense of like, not that wasn't meant to be like a cultural diss. It was just meant to be like if you're hitting someone with a machete, it's a pretty savage thing to do, right? Um, and it's really scary and it's really intimidating, and you don't learn a lot about the scars or what their culture's like, or sorry, the Seraphites, or what their culture's like or anything, or what their community's like straight away. A lot of it is fed into your like progression through the narrative of the game. But then on the show, all of a sudden we're introduced to some Seraphites straight away. You got like a father figure and a child figure talking about, giving a few details about their ways and their beliefs and that kind of thing. painting them as a kind of likable group of characters that the audience can empathize with, right? And then they're killed straight away. So you're going, oh, but they seemed like nice people, and they're killed straight away by the WLF. And is that to frame the WLF as bad, so that when Ellie goes on a rampage or Tommy goes on a rampage, we're less we care less that these people are dying because we already know that they're assholes because they killed all these presumably quite nice and polite Seraphites? Maybe that might be what they're doing with it, but we wouldn't have to have painted the WLF as awful if we hadn't given away Abby's motive straight away, because we know that Abby's part of the WLF. If you don't give away her motive straight away, she just looks like a monster killing one of our favorite characters in Joel. So why didn't they just do that? Because that's what's amazing about the game is you're in Ellie and Joel's shoes, and then Abby kills Joel, and you're like, screw this bitch. I hate her. She's going down. And at least that's how I felt. And I know a lot of other people felt the same ways. The first half of the game, we were playing as Ellie. You're like, I'm going to kill you and all your friends. You're all dying. Like, it's on. And then you switch and you play as Abby. And initially, I at least was like, oh, why am I playing as this stupid, like, plait-headed ponytail bitch? I don't like her. Then you spend so much time in her shoes, you realize that she's a human as well, and she has the same heartbreak that we felt at losing Joe was the heartbreak she felt when she lost her dad to Joe. So, and then you come across the Scaraphites or Seraphites, whatever, and you're like, oh, these people are like mental, kill them all, stay away, kind of thing. But then you befriend one of them, and you're like, and then the game pushes you along the narrative where you're like, oh yeah, these are all just people as well trying to make their way through the world and survive and everything. The game is so good at exposing the humanity in what's perceived as your enemy or like the other. There's always the fear of the other. It's like the human conscious, maybe a disease of the human mind or whatever. But so what the show does by straight away presenting the Seraphites as human. Obviously, they're human, but you know what I mean. The humanity within that culture, and straight away revealing Abby's narrative is all of that intrigue and mystery, and then the ability of the narrative to, again, this is what the game does well, is it paints the picture for you to despise the other, be it Abby or the Seraphites or whatever, and then it flips it around on you and goes, hey, they're humans too, and you have this kind of thing when you're playing it of like, I see both sides now. Like by the end of the game, you don't want to kill Abby anymore, which seems sacrilegious to say immediately following the death of Joel, but that's how it is, and I'm pretty sure that's unanimous amongst everyone that's played the game. So the show immediately takes away the possibility for that to happen later on, because straight away you understand Abby's motives, and straight away you understand that the Seraphites are, human. So I'm trying to reserve my judgment on it. That you know the show will pad that out or replace that kind of cool with something good. Hopefully they will. Hopefully they will. But where's my mouse gone? There it is. But so far it's missing the mark a little bit for me. And again, it's got nothing to do with like being attracted or not attracted to this person in their muscle or anything. Is I don't know. That's a different point, wasn't it? Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But so far, season two is not as good as season one. Although the last episode was really good. It's the most I've enjoyed it. It was the one where Isaac was like torturing the Seraphite, which sounds a little bit contradictory now that I say it, because like my whole point a minute ago was about keeping the Seraphites as like a feared enemy and then eventually revealing their humanity. But anyway, I've rambled on for long enough. Hope you enjoyed that episode. It's my first one for a couple of years. And I'm going to I'm not going to make any commitments to schedule of release of episodes. I'm just going to try and do my best. But thank you all for listening. Please do hit like, subscribe, wherever you're listening or watching this. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, means nothing to you. For me, it helps a lot. So thank you. And yeah, stay cool. Peace.